Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pure Bliss Akram. And if you like our channels, we'll start with a little inquiry. Please subscribe.
Right. Yeah. Need your support and need your feedbacks about what we record and what you want us to record next time.
Exactly, exactly. And today we got inquiry last week from one of our patients regarding pesticides, how to really protect ourselves. Is it really something worth mentioning or being really watchful for pesticides and how Ayurveda can help? Because we always want to talk from this
Yeah.
ancient wisdom perspective. Yeah.
Exactly. So I will be asking you a few very common questions that I think most of us think when it comes to the pesticides, because everyone is concerned more about the health and type of food that we eat. So should we start?
Sure, I would like that.
Yeah. So first of all, I would like to know more, like a little bit brief introduction about pesticides, because so that everyone can know the idea behind it.
So, pesticides have been with us for 50 plus years, as in many aspects of our lives, at least after the World War II, they were very useful because they really made sure that our fruits and vegetables came despite of droughts or floodings or different any diseases and insects that ate the fruits and vegetables. But right now we have so many different pesticides in the agriculture and also in the gardens, taking care of our lawns, looking perfect, no weeds, nothing. That it gradually starts affecting, or it has been affecting us in more and more obvious and harmful ways. So
Exactly.
yes, so when it's very easy, we Homo sapiens is very sharp and knows what something is wrong. So if you have any doubts about pesticides, just go to one of these big farms that have monocultures such as corn and look at the earth beneath it. It's dry, it has no insects, it has no very few worms in the soil. If it rains, it's okay, but if it doesn't rain, it immediately goes into drought mode. So
Yeah.
the farmers that use pesticides, they also have to use more water, which is there's a scarcity of water all around us. So if you notice the consequences of the pesticides to the earth around us, think about your own digestive system, right? Think about your microbiome in your intestine, and consequently, think about the immunology that you have. Can you have a strong immunological system if you have not really working guts in because of the pesticides? If your intestines are not really working well, the movement of your intestines and guts
Peristaltic movement. Yeah, got it.
movement, thank you, it's
Yeah.
slower, then how does this affect your type 2 diabetes if you cannot really evacuate the accumulation of toxins in your body and in your blood, not necessarily from pesticides, but with because of the compromised digestion and absorption.
Yeah, I think that's why it's easy to correlate what's going on inside the body and what's going on outside the body. And the
Exactly.
principle of Ayurveda, that is Panchabhuta, also works like that. Everyone consists of five elements, and we have to describe how those elements work in that particular area. So this is the same similar situation that we can correlate, I guess.
Yes, so this is it's really terrifying because it enters very quietly into our lives by buying beautifully looking the same size fruits, that never go spoil outside of the refrigerator
Like a
because
slow death.
yeah.
Yeah, it works gradually. Okay, so I think after that, the most common thing that we are afraid of is that how it affects the human health and in what perspective we can see if it's affecting us and at what level it's harmful for us?
Yes, so this is the scariest part of pesticides because it really plays with our information systems. So it affects the most, it affects neurological system, and it affects hormonal system, endocrine system. So if our hormones cannot really communicate effectively with our cells, with our organs, then we are slowly getting to be dysfunctional. Also, the nervous system, it's the memory problems, concentration, confusion, irritability, for kids, lack of attention, of anxiety. So a lot of symptoms that are really correlated with 21st century are really the causes are pesticides.
Think
Yeah.
we can also divide it into like short-term consequence and the long-term consequence. And majorly, it's long-term consequence that we will see at certain point of time.
Yes.
And it's not like suddenly you ate something wrong and your stomach get upset. So this is something getting accumulated inside your system, affecting different system, as you mentioned, nervous system, circulatory, hormonal, all these lymphatic systems even.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
of course, long
We
term,
need to be very careful about what.
absolutely. You have problems with cancer. This is the long term consequences with type 2
Yeah.
diabetes.
Even reproductive system gets affected in a long term. Yeah.
Yeah, asthma. This is one of the common also problems. It affects the lung tissues. Obviously, if you inhale the pesticides, then
Inhale.
yes, it's not very good.
And
So
inhalation is one of the ways that you can take pesticide inside. Like it's like inhalation, indigest, like ingestion directly, ingesting it through the food or through the air that you breathe. If you are staying around that area where pesticide use is like a very greater level.
yes, yes. And for people with autoimmunological conditions, it's particularly harmful because we already have compromised our immunology. And with pesticides, it's just the immune system goes totally crazy when we eat high levels of pesticides.
And also the people working in the farms and who are in direct contact, they have a way of skin contact as well, to which the pesticides can enter into their body and affect them in many ways.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And also, if we need any safe alternatives to these chemical pesticides, do we have any options to opt for, or how do we know how much we are taking and how much is the levels that our body can fight against? So, what do you have to say about it?
That's a very good question. Thank you, Dr. Kamal. Yes, there are a lot of tests. There are urine tests, blood tests, where we can actually see and check what are the pesticides levels inside of us. But also always protect yourself. As you said, there are different ways of different routes of entering through our body. So if you are a farmer working, you have to have protective clothing. If you have problems walking, try not to walk on the in the parks that have that all look beautiful. They have no weeds and they have no birds and very few insects flying. Then you know that this is all very highly contaminated area. If you ingest pesticides, and obviously the alternative is ecological food, but if you sometimes cannot buy it or if you don't have close by stores, then I found on the internet very useful guidelines of how to wash the vegetables and fruits. So basically,
That's a very important point, right?
exactly. So you wash it for 5 to 10 minutes in warm water, and then you sprinkle with water with 2% salt concentration, and you wash them. Wash avocado or wash different thick skins. So in case of lettuce or kale or spinach also it's on the bad list of having a high concentration of the poison. You steam it for 1 to 2 minutes. You do the blanching of broccoli. You just basically cut broccoli into smaller pieces and you boil for 1 to 2 minutes. and then obviously discard the water with chemicals in them. And so washing is one of washing, steaming, and cooking in high temperatures. If you don't have access to ecological milk, you boil the milk a couple of times. Ayurveda says, right, that the milk needs to be boiled twice before serving.
Yeah, that's true. This is what I would advise generally,
Yes.
how you should consume milk.
Yes, so exactly. So you follow Ayurveda and you have milk pesticides free or mostly pesticides free.
I
So
think boiling is the traditional way that always work best.
mm,
When you boil things, it destroys the bacteria and make it safer for consumption. So I
yes,
think when we go back to the roots, when we talk about Ayurveda, it's always about going back to what our ancestors used to do, but in a modern way, what we have right now. I never say just go back and follow exactly what they did, but just try to inculcate that in your own way, in a modern way, like because we are a very comfortable and a lucky generation that we have so many things to make our lives easier as
yes.
compared to what our ancestors used to have. So I think that way we are so lucky to have alternatives. We have organic foods, we have everything as an alternate. They just have to do everything manually, wash it 10 times just to get rid of these pesticides. So yeah, you explained it very well what we can do just to avoid higher level of pesticide exposure. And is there anything, and what do you think about organic foods? Like nowadays, about organic foods, most of the foods that we can get organic. So is it pesticide free, do you think? Or is this something to sell the food in a other way around, like by saying it organic? What do you think about it?
I think that you and we come from cultures that to survive, you need to be street smart. And I think the
Like
ecological
it?
it's absolute necessity. If you have an option of going to a local farmers market once a week, then you have also a good chance and talking just to the farmers and see if they really take care of their produce and if it's with minimal amounts of chemicals. But you have to be really careful because sometimes we pay twice or three times for organic produce or tomatoes, for instance. And I see sometimes tomatoes when I cut them, they have all the certification, but yet they have this white lining under the skin. And it tells me that they probably were chemically matured. So how can they be ecological yet? Yes. So sometimes you have ecological produce, but it has been exposed to fungicide just before arriving to a store. That's why reading, sometimes you have produce that is or marmalade that is from 80% or organic things, yet inside it has a lot of conservants and it has food coloring. Obviously, this is not general rule. Generally, the ecological foods are really good, and you support local farmers, so you do a lot of good job for yourself and for the environment and for the others who work much harder to get the good quality vegetables to your table. But you don't just accept that this is ecological and buy immediately. Just see what is behind that produce.
No, you are exactly saying what it is nowadays. This is the reality that we all have to face and we are facing already. And what do you think about like the natural alternatives to the pesticide use? How effective they are? Like I have heard about neem oil and the garlic spray. How does that work? And does it work, or even it works, or it's just something to manipulate people about okay, you are eating something bit safer than what other people are eating. So what do you have to say about like some people say parasitic wasps?
Okay, again, I am not a farmer. I have a terrace, and on the terrace, I used couple of summers neem oil, and I know that neem oil works very well to distract insects, eating away herbs or tomatoes, tomato leaves. So that is my experience. Neem is wonderful. What about you? Do you have any experiences with alternatives to pesticides?
Heard of garlic spray as well. Because of the heating temperature, it sometimes help to kill the pesticide if it's there in that particular thing.
Okay,
And there are some parasitic wasps that are used instead of chemical pesticides to control the pest.
okay.
So that's why I don't think there is much research about it that there is anything like particularly as an alternative to pesticide use. We can just have some control guidelines. I think different countries have different levels of how much of the pesticide you can use and you're allowed to use, so that it's safer for a human body to ingest and evacuate it through other systems. So I guess this is the best way that we can do until now. Maybe some researches are still going on about it.
Yeah, and I've noticed that if you have to eat pesticides, if you have no other alternatives, then please wash it carefully, steam it, boil the produce, fresh produce. If you go to restaurant and you know that you probably will get some chemicals in you, then one of the things that really works for me and for my patients is the activated charcoal. It's wonderfully active and it binds with the chemicals. But the downside of it, it also makes you constipated. So it's good if you take it for 2 to 3 days. Generally, the protocol says to take it for 5 days if you've been exposed to higher levels of pesticides. Then obviously our beloved Triphala will help.
Yeah. Yeah, it will help to eliminate the excess pesticide that you have already taken inside the body. So I think these are the very few things that we got. That's why we need to learn more about the pesticide usage and to what level it's being used for the food that you eat every day.
Absolutely. And I have a question for you, Dr. Kamal. One of
Yeah.
the disruptions, very harmful disruption of pesticides is the reproductive system. Have you had any experience with patients with reproductive problems due to what they eat and what they've been exposed to?
I have an experience with a male patient. I think sometimes there are reasons that are not that we cannot know through the investigations alone. Like when it comes to a male, we go for semen analysis. When it comes to a female, we go for different kind of like AMH levels and other hormones. But what I have experienced is that if you are exposed to more of any other like occupational hazard, like if you are a driver, you're driving whole day and you are sitting just very close to the engine and it's giving heat directly to your reproductive system, it affects the quality of your sperms.
Yeah,
And in females, if you are exposed to more of the harmful rays, it affects your quality of egg. So these are the different ways in which the excess pesticide use, excess rays, and excess of other occupational hazards can affect your reproductive level. That's why we always say this thing is something like a slow poison. It doesn't affect you at that moment all of a sudden. It's something that is getting built up in your body slowly and gradually. And when it comes to a level where the body cannot take it more, it shows the symptoms.
sure. Yeah,
That's why we say always to be around in a very clean and a hygienic environment to avoid all these things.
yeah. And also probably our beloved superfood turmeric, right? It should help by cleansing liver. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I advise is most of the time we mentioned neem oil before and now turmeric. So there's a combination of neem powder and turmeric powder that you can just make small round sort of laddus in the morning and just take it empty stomach daily in the morning. It helps to cleanse the system, like a detoxification on a daily basis that you can do. It's like a simple thing that, like, I have seen people taking antacids whole their lives. The first thing they get up in the morning. So instead of that, just go for this combination of neem powder and the turmeric powder that will help you cleanse your system, especially your liver.
So for how long do you think the neem and the turmeric concoction should be taken in the morning?
So you can start it with a minimum of 21 days, take a break for a week or two, and then you can start it again. So this
Okay.
should be a cycle. You can keep on repeating it. Yeah, and you'll start seeing the results after a while, and then you can see how much your body can take it. You can extend from 21 days to 4.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kamal. That's very useful. So, and obviously, such simple measures like sauna, exercise, just burning out and perspiring all the toxins through your releasing through your skin. That also helps, right? Yeah. And eating a lot of
It
green
is also a
vegetables.
way to excrete out toxins, like we say. That's why sweating is important. You should have sweating. That's a way of eliminating the toxins from the body.
Exactly. Yeah. I also read somewhere, but I am not sure if this is even true. Brazilian nuts.
I'm not sure about how does it work exactly
Yeah, neither am I.
for the pesticide inside the body. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
need to have more research about it.
Yes. Okay, very interesting. Just to summarize everything, I have a list of vegetables that are cleaner than others. So this is a positive ending. So if you like any of them, just eat even more. It's avocado, sweet corn, pineapple, onions, papaya, sweet peas, asparagus, kiwi, cabbage, mangoes, sweet potatoes, and carrots. Yeah,
Most of them are works as a detoxifying agent, what we advise, like in juices and in smoothies for different patients. So that's
exactly.
a very good list that we can keep it with us to have it more often, to just cleanse the system.
Yeah. And obviously, number one on the list, on the other list, the negative list, it's strawberries. Strawberries are like sponges to everything that's on the soil and in the environment.
Strawberry,
Don't eat them unless they're organic.
strawberries and spinach, as you mentioned before, both.
Yes, exactly. Okay, very, very cool. Thank you, Dr. Kamal.
Thank you to you for such an informational topic that I think is bit of not much talked about. That's why we always want to talk about the topics that are not much into trend, and people should know about it. People should be aware about it.
Yes,
So
yes,
we will keep on doing this effort to keep you all healthy
exactly.
through our wisdom.
Yes, and it also goes back to the fact that the pesticides are slow killers because the longer you take them, the least you realize that your body can function better. You have the brain fog and you are slower and
And focus.
yes, and you accept it. You say, well, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just getting older, or I'm just, this is how it is, this is life in general. And it doesn't have to be that way. So this is also important to remember. Yeah.
And the irony is people know about brain fog. They are getting brain fog, but they don't know why. They don't know one reason can be this one,
Yeah.
what we talked about today. So going back to the reason, the causes, and the Nidan Parivarjan we always talk about is very much important that people ignore.
And this is, it goes back also to the video, the podcast that you recorded about mental health, right? So what we eat is also very closely
Right.
associated with our mental health.
Health, right? That's a fact.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much and have a
Okay.
wonderful week.